With asymmetric multiplayer that's heavy on the gamepad, an infinite ensemble cast of the undead, and the distinction of not being a port, ZombiU is potentially the Wii U launch title to watch. Does it rise from the grave to embody its potential, or should some things just stay dead?
Let the games commence!
Welcome. Do make us on at home.
You would call London a ghost town, were it not for the zombies. As one of the few survivors of the apocalypse, it's up to you to escape or find a cure or something. You see, while the prime directive is assuredly survival, it's in the other avenues of adventure when the plot thins, when it should in fact thicken. The mysterious voice of the Prepper booms over the static, chiding and talking of the Black Prophecy and of the Elizabethan mystic John Dee. But it can be hard to discern the nature of these occult occurrences via the quick snaps of conversation. Other survivors are few, as often adding confusion as doling out an offering of insight or a dot of color in this man-eat-man world.
And those men who are not prepared will succumb to its foul clutches.
This is the Prepper. Look lively. The cameras up by the supermarket still need fixing. Time to earn your keep.
The Prepper knows what's best, with his all-seeing CCTV all over London. As you awaken with what will soon be an all-too-familiar gasp, your guardian will bark some words of warning or wisdom. You'll traverse tube stations and tourist traps, scavenging supplies and overcoming every possible flavor of British zombie before you inevitably join their numbers.
I prepared you better than that.
Every time you die in ZombiU, the character you are playing becomes a new zombie to worry about, stalking the space where you bit it. Killing the old you as the new you lets you recover your gear, a profitable if risky endeavor. Die again before you kill your previous self though, and you lose everything, waking up as yet another new person with a stock cricket bat and a measly 6 bullets in a handgun. So goes the cycle of life and undeath. You can store your best stuff at the safe house for a later life, but after losing a prized gun, it can be hard to pry another out of retirement. You'll unlock shortcuts that cut down on backtracking, but the excessive load times add another unneeded layer of punishment to dying. The hardcore can try survival mode with a single life, leaderboards, and bragging rights. ZombiU reveals its Metroid-like nature over time. As you complete missions, you gain new abilities that grant access to more areas, like C4 to detonate obstructions, or keycodes to open locked doors. Exploring and discovering supplies and upgrades is satisfying, but there are some absurd oversights. In one early mission, your goal is to acquire a hammer. It just so happens there's one in the very safe room you start in, sitting on the workbench. Aggravatingly unobtainable.
Those cameras won't fix themselves, and you need to do a little shopping.
Even worse are the unclear and buggy objectives. We were able to clip right through a locked door that served as a key objective in one scenario, which led to the game logic suffering some serious conniption fits. Navigation is rough in general, with area maps that require unlocking and no way to reference zones that you aren't currently in. You can't jump, and actions like ducking and climbing are both context-specific, so get used to not being able to scale meager obstacles. It doesn't help that many sections, especially those indoors and underground, look quite similar, with even the more distinct areas conforming to an overall staid look. At least the multiplayer's good. One player takes the gamepad managing a team of zombies by spawning them on the minimap, while the other player, armed with a Wii Remote or Pro Controller, tries to survive and kill as many zombies as possible. The RTS and FPS elements quickly come to a boil, with a unique seesaw element that's best experienced in the game's Capture the Flag mode, with enough variety from power-ups and in-game leveling to keep things interesting.
And the King of Zombies levels up! Well played!
While the multiplayer is local only, players can go online to spray paint glyphs around London to help or hinder each other. It adds a dash of camaraderie to the soloist survival aspect, but don't expect too much guidance from the sporadic symbols.
Nice day to die in.
Who knew new zombies were so predictable. 4 swift paddles from the bat and they go down like a wicket. Feel like spending some of that squirreled away ammo? Aim for the head and double tap. That first bullet always conveniently cracks the skull. While flight is always an option, zombies invariably give chase, so it's usually a good idea to kill them. Get used to drawn-out melees and exploiting the scenery for safer engagements. Later in the game, zombies can take nearly a dozen thwacks before they go down, and ammo is scarce enough to make you take your time with the bat, especially when you're engaging small numbers. The FPS controls map well to the gamepad, though they're deliberate enough to match the game's pace. The gamepad wears many hats, acting as a motion sensor, map, and scanner. Like the movie Aliens, the red dots you see blipping could be anything from a rat to a zombie. If you switch to scan mode, you can mark them to have them show up on the TV, and likewise with any other objects. It's a cool system that has you glancing down whenever you hear the telltale pings of danger. A lot of that goodwill is undone by the zombies that don't show up on the radar at all, popping in from scripted events and monster closets. It raises the tension at the expense of the core system's integrity, with the player getting the short end of the stick.
You wouldn't be dead if you'd listened to me.
The early game is especially brutal. Hit points are hard to replenish, and if a zombie manages to grab you, it's an instant and cheap lights out, until you eventually require a countermeasure. Losing weapons is hard, so you'll be swinging the cricket bat ad nauseum, reserving the expendable handgun for the more vicious types of zombie. It's safe to say that ZombiU is not the graphical showcase for the Wii U's coming out party. To befit London's foggy rep, the environments are generally muted and draped in some bad textures. Meanwhile, the zombies' animated shambles appear quite cut and paste. There's plenty of gore, but even that can come across as slapstick, like when a slam to the lower torso makes a corpse's head pop off. The visual bugs are also plentiful. Get ready for disappearing heads, bad physics, clipping, and countless other distractions. Likewise, UI elements are often misleading with on-screen prompts that don't communicate their intended messages. The audio is no better, with your mostly mute characters cycling through off-putting grunts and yells, and the prepper's voice being hard to understand at times. ZombiU does deliver a distinctive survival experience, albeit one stymied by awkward meanderings and dull undead. It's not likely you'll die of boredom per se, though the good sections are strung few and far between. More than anything else, ZombiU feels like it was rushed to launch, which is too bad. A little more time in the incubator, and it could have been something special.
It would be beautiful, if not for its dark design.
See this and other GT shows and game reviews on the GT Originals iOS app, available now on the App Store.